So, welcome to Animal Yoga. Let's just start by connecting with our breath. Just observing the breath for the moment as it is. No judgment, no changing. The breath, a sign of life across the animal kingdom, across much of the animal kingdom. And just begin to deepen, lengthen this breath now. Let the breath be the tour guide of our animal bodies in this moment. Let it bring you inward. To this deeper part of ourself, that part which is common within all beings, all creatures on earth. And through the animal yoga practice, this is what we're seeking to foster, this greater connection with fellow beings on earth. And yoga offers us methods to feel a greater union. So we're going to start with the chant, the opening simple short chant. Just let the Sanskrit vibrations greet your body. It basically translates as calling on the great protector of animals, asking for inspiration, connection and compassion. Shri Pashupatinath Prarana Sambada Karuna Shri Pashupatinath Shri Pashupatinath. In the aftermath of that was setting our intention, our sankalpa. Simply put, dedicating our session to relieving the suffering of all beings on earth, humans included. And we can now reinforce this sankalpa, this intention, with the bee breath, the Bhramari pranayama, named after the Indian bee. And this would be a good time to create your own tailored intention if you wish. Perhaps there's a specific animal cause or a specific individual animal that you know is in need at the moment, where you feel particular resonance and you'd like to dedicate the session to that animal or that cause today, and you're very welcome to do that. And the Bhramari pranayama is very simple. Inhaling through the nose, hold for 1 count, and exhale still through the nose, but this time with a humming sound. All the way to completion of the exhale. Hold again for a count at the bottom before continuing. And we'll do this just around 4 times. Don't worry if you lose count, we'll just come to a stop. And you can internalize this all the more, this humming sound, if you bring your thumbs or your forefingers to the cartilage of your ears and press inside slightly. So let's exhale all the air and then prepare. Just once again resting in the aftermath of that practice and just noticing, witnessing. So now we will commence the physical postures of the practice, beginning with the full expression of lion pose, Simhasana. And so on the silent count of 4, we will reach forward with our hands in front of our knees. Release a soundful exhale with the tongue sticking out, stretching the platysma muscle at the front of the throat, and eyes wide. You can cross the eyes if you like. And this is a great posture to start with as we relieve ourselves of any inhibitions, looking silly, and just really embrace the energy of the lion, the animal species that is inactive for up to 20 hours of the day and yet has the reputation still of king of the jungle. So inspiration to us, as it reminds us we don't need to be active and doing all the time in order to be strong. So exhaling all the air once again, and then inhaling 1, 2, 3. Marvelous, fantastic how this really wakes us up after that period of having our eyes closed, ready for the rest of the practice. So coming to all 4s now, hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, the symbolic animal posture of all 4s. We're just going to start awakening the spine gently with cat-cow, exhaling into cat, arcing the back tummy into the spine, then inhaling into cow. So the spine greatly present across the animal kingdom, the vertebrates making up a large proportion of the animal kingdom, and our own spine within our own animal body being particularly unique, as it has enabled us to be upright, standing. Good. So exhaling into cat and inhaling into cow at your own pace, being guided by your breath. Then coming to neutral, we'll be continuing with the same motion now, but extending the right leg first of all. Exhaling, knee to chest. Inhaling, extend the right leg. Exhaling into chest. This is tiger pose, Vajragasana. And you can release a soundful exhale here, symbolic of the tiger's roar. And hold that leg on the next inhale. Reach round with the left arm, taking hold of the foot, breathing here. One-handed tiger. And you can push into that hand if you're comfortably there, or just holding that foot if that's enough of a challenge already. Well done, keep it going. And releasing slowly, gently on an exhale back to all fours. Pausing briefly before the other side. Left leg up on the inhale. Exhale, knee to chest. Now the tiger is the only member of the cat family that actually likes to be in water. So imagine you are moving through water. That's how slow and thick, if you like, we want this movement, how controlled. Once again, holding that leg up and reaching round with the right arm, taking hold of the foot. Trying not to interlock the left arm here, that's steady on the floor. One-handed tiger once again, breathing here. Trying to keep the hip at the hips level and the torso facing the front, enjoying the shoulder stretch, slight back opening, and definitely getting that thigh pumping and alive. Releasing gently on the exhale. Good, pausing here. Neutral spine. We're coming into downward facing dog next. Moving the hands forward, toes tucking under. Inhale, look forward, and then exhale, tailbone toward the ceiling. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Breathing here, man's best friend, so the saying goes. And dogs really do enjoy this stretch. So see if you can find that juicy part of this posture. You can keep the knees bent if you need to, just so long as you're getting that hamstring stretch that you can sustain. Good. And then raising that right leg, keeping the hips level first of all, then opening up. Good, and you can bend the right leg, foot coming towards the buttock and looking under that right arm. Breathing, the rest of the posture remains the same. Good. And then we'll straighten that leg again, make the hips level. Exhale the leg, foot back down. Pause here before repeating that on the other side. Good. Hips level first of all with the left leg, then opening up in line with the breath, and again bending that left leg, foot coming towards the buttock. Good. Breathing steadily. In line with the breath, once again, retracing your steps, eventually exhaling that foot and leg back down. Good, pausing here. And just to let you know, you can come to hare pose, Shashankasana, anytime if you need a break, and rejoin us when you're ready. It's a lovely resting pose, similar to child's pose, but with the forearms extended, representing the hare's ears. For now, coming back to downward facing dog. To transition, we're going to be bringing that right foot forward on the outside of the right hand. You can help it along if you need. Lizard pose, Uttan Pristasana. gentle hip opening here. And we could begin the process of empathy here in our animal yoga practice. What is it to be ... whatever animal posture we're in? That will help us foster more of this sense of union, unity, connection. Good. And you can keep that back leg raised, or you can bring the knee to the floor as well. And you can lower down onto forearms if you have the space in your body to do so, but it's not compulsory. Do respect and listen to your body. And just be aware if you have any sensitive knees, maybe place a cushion under the knee if you are lowering onto the knee. I also find that if you push down with the shin into and the top of the foot into the floor, that actually helps gain a bit of a lift off the knee and actually eases any tenderness there. So gently coming back up and back onto the ball of the back foot. Exhaling back into downward dog, pausing before we transition to the other side. And remember, if you wish to linger longer in any posture here, you can just press pause. It's absolutely fine. Left leg coming forward, foot on the outside of the left hand. Front leg symbolizing the front leg of the lizard here. If you think of an iguana as it's walking, you can easily see how that is the case. And the back leg symbolizing the long body of the lizard. The chameleon, perhaps one of the most commonly known lizards, inspiring us with its ever-changing colours. We can be who we want to be. We don't have to conform to a certain way or to expectations. Good. Coming into a deeper version, physically that is, of this posture if you wish to. Remember, you can be just as deep in a emotional, mental, even spiritual sense of the posture, even if you're not so physically deep. So practicing acceptance of where you're at as well. Lovely. Preparing to exit that posture on an inhale and exhaling back into down dog. Good. So you can come into hare pose once again if you need a rest, or pausing in down dog. We're going to be reaching a bit of an energetic peak here, but we'll soon come to rest on our belly, so just know that that light is at the end of the tunnel. Coming into dolphin pose, creeping those feet forward slightly and coming onto the forearms, pushing into the mat with those elbows and forearms, tailbone extending high like a dolphin jumping out of the ocean. Svanasana. Belly tucking in toward the spine. If you want an added challenge here, you can inhale forward and exhale back. Good. Lovely. Reminding us of life beginning in the primordial waters here. There is actually a river dolphin as well in the holy Ganges River in India. I was very pleased to discover that. I love the thought of a river dolphin. All life evolving from the water. So we're going to exhale into dolphin plank now, keeping the body as level as possible. No sticky outy bums or sinking. Really drawing in the core into the spine. Still pushing in with those elbows. A couple more breaths before exhaling down onto the heavenly support of the mat, creating a pillow for the forehead, one hand on top of the other, and taking the feet out to the edges of the mat with the toes pointing out. Crocodile pose, makkarasana. We'll be resting here for a minute or two. How quickly can we welcome our physical being and mind into state of rest? Perfect posture for being aware of our breath here, bring the breath into a steady, balanced place once more. Feel your breath as your tummy expands into the mat on the inhale and then softens back into the spine on the exhale. Crocodile pose, symbolic of our desire, how it can often lead us to ruin, yet simultaneous is the creative force within life. So, as with everything in yoga, about balance. Preparing to come out of crocodile pose now, bringing the tops of the feet onto the floor, hip distance apart, drawing the hands next to the ribs, elbows tucking in toward the body, preparing for baby cobra, bhujangasana. Inhale, lengthen the spine, roll up, exhale, come back down, little flow, continue with that. Hands not really being utilized here. You may even like to float the hands off the floor just to make sure it is the back muscles doing the work here. And you can hold the pose on the next inhale if you like. Still keep the breath flowing. Even though we're holding a posture statically, everything is still moving inside of us and the breath very much flowing. Good. So much symbolism of snakes within yoga. Many different snake postures. You can inhale up into full cobra now if you like, this time using the strength of the arms, lifting you higher. Coming back down and interlacing the hands behind the back now for savasana. Similar posture, but this time with the arms behind the back. When you inhale up, you try to create some space between the arms and the buttocks, lifting them up and away, rolling the shoulders back. Energy in the body that we're trying to move through our yoga practice is often symbolized by a snake, a dormant sleeping snake resting at the base of the spine that we're trying to awaken through our yoga, and then it goes coiling up the spine. Coming to rest again in crocodile pose, this time with the toes resting together, ankles splaying out, and the other hand on top. You can sigh the breath out whenever you like in this practice. So, bringing yourself back into neutral now, tops of the feet on the floor, hip distance apart, left arm coming in, folding in, left elbow under the left shoulder. Bringing the right foot up toward the body and taking hold of that foot on the inside. That may be quite sufficient for you. You might be thinking that's quite enough, thank you. But you may be able to direct your fingers in the direction of your toes. So hand facing forward and bringing the elbow up toward the ceiling. Not compulsory once again. We're just after the experience that a posture can offer us, and different people need to go to different places within a posture for their own body. frog pose, Bakasana, really pushing into the floor with that elbow not sinking down into it on the left hand side. Enjoying that thigh stretch. And you can probably sense more intensity in that stretch if you push your pelvis down into the floor, direct the tailbone toward the knees, the feet. And when you come out, avoiding slingshotting that foot back and just gently resting back down and switching sides. Can be a bit of a mind game, this posture, first of all. So try and keep a sense of playfulness. And breathing, committing to a point within the posture that you can sustain. It is frog pose number 1. There is another animal named posture of frog pose. And there's so many stories, animal-based mythology, philosophy to share. And if you experience enough of animal yoga, you'll no doubt become familiar with lots of them, but we can't share them all in one session. Lovely, exhaling out and transitioning into the next posture, locust pose, arms coming forward, legs pointing back, and inhaling, lengthening both sides of the body, so much so that both sides of the body lift. Shalabhasana. Breathing still here. If this is too much, you can just do one end of the body or opposite leg and arm together at one point and then the other side. Exhaling down to rest. Often a great challenge to extend any kind of compassion to creatures such as locusts that also seem to bring a lot of suffering to humans, perhaps other species as well, great plagues. So it really tests the extent of our compassion. But just remembering they don't know any better, and each species is just doing what they're brought here to do. Scorpion with its sting, snakes and their poison. Perhaps we are here to foster as much compassion as possible. We seem to have a greater potential for that. And with insects, the idea that compassion towards the ant, the minutest of animals, seen as the greatest act of kindness. The greatest expression. So moving now, preparing for upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, a passive back bend. We're using the arms, raising the hips and the legs off the floor, welcoming the chest and the heart forward. If there's no problems with the neck, you can rest it back, but not compulsory. Maybe keeping that neck aligned with the spine is preferable. Breathing here. And on an exhale, we're going to roll over the feet into downward facing dog, or getting there any way you can. Lovely. Who would have thought that we would become in such close proximity with dogs? Both of our species originated on other sides of the world, dogs in North, or wolves from wolves in North America, and us on the east of Africa. Feel free to come down and rest in hare pose if you like. And use that symbolism of the hare's ears to really listen internally. Remind yourself of our shared intention, Sankalpa, the power in that shared intention as well. slowly coming up. Returning to downward facing dog just to transition. So this is one means of transitioning into the next posture, but you can just start at the top of the mat with the legs just a bit greater, wider than hip distance. I'll come to that in a moment. For now, bringing the left foot forward and taking the right foot parallel to the back edge of the mat. And we're going to link the left arm under the left thigh and wrap the right arm up and over, interlinking the hands if possible. Here you can use a strap if the hands don't meet, that's perfectly fine. And then look down next to your left foot, and that's where you're going to aim with your right foot. And you can create a bit of momentum, a bit of a bend in the back leg to then spring forward, or work your way forward gradually, however you can get there. And this is where you're going to start if you're not going for that transition, just starting at the front. And here you'll interlink the arms under the left thigh with the left arm and right up and over. And then transition the weight into the right foot and just begin to take the weight off of the left foot, and maybe you just play there, keeping the upper body bent over, or perhaps you can raise up. Strength, form and integrity in the lower part of the body, and then opening up into vulnerability. Bird of Paradise, Svagajvijasana. And then just release, coming out on an exhale. Same way as you entered. Release there, breathing. A very flamboyant posture for a flamboyant group of birds. There's umpteen different species within the Bird of Paradise group. Birds thought to be liminal between two planes of existence, if you like, the more spiritual higher realms and the earthly physical realm. And with their wings they can transition between the two, and so they're thought to carry us to greater heights. So let that inspire you as you transition to the next side. So if you're going for that transition again into Bird of Paradise, taking the left leg back, right arm this time under the right thigh, left arm sweeping back behind you, using that strap if you need, and springing forward in your own time, committing to your own version of this posture, your own unique version. Keep on breathing. Really strong standing supporting leg there if you did manage to fold up. Good. So just repositioning yourself on the mat if you need as you exhale down and out of that posture, resting forward again. Very important, these pauses in between the postures, just to notice what's going on and rebalance ourselves, our breath, refocus the mind. We're continuing with another bird posture now, eagle pose, Garudasana. Tiptoeing the feet together, transitioning the weight into the heels of the feet, bending down into an imaginary chair, hands onto the knees, opening the wings, the arms wide, and bringing the left arm on top of the right as you fold the arms in, trying to wrap the arms around as much as possible and holding on to whatever you can. Right leg up and over. Perhaps you can interlace that foot, or maybe you want to balance the foot on a block, that's absolutely fine. Or even just practice this pose in parts, maybe just the arms one practice and then the legs another, eventually combining them. squeezing the arms and the legs together. Elbows at first pushing down, then after a couple of breaths, raising the elbows, sinking lower on an exhale with the buttocks before inhaling up and out into mountain pose, Tadasana. Not strictly an animal posture, but where lots of animals live. A vast ecosystem. So before we continue with eagle pose on the other side, just imagine an eagle sitting on a treetop, observing your physical body, both in this practice on the mat, but also you can use this in everyday life. Just gain a bit of distance from whatever is going on if you're finding something difficult. You can imagine it as your subtle energy body up there, observing you. Other side now. So we're aiming for a neutral spine, neutral tailbone here, not tucked under or tilting back. Good, and when you're ready, coming into your version of the pose. Elbows pushing down first of all, and then heightening the elbows as you lower, sink lower with the lower body. And then inhale up. And then back down into mountain pose as we release that compression that we've created by squeezing the legs and the arms together. Blood flowing into those areas once again. And the shoulder blades in that pose really opening, as if the shoulder blades are the wings. Fantastic. Coming into a little flow now of swan dive and boar pose. Boars being very representative of fertility. They're thought to have inspired agriculture. Originally, humans observing how the tusk of boars, when digging for roots for nutrition and food, they'd turf the soil over, and humans would observe the regenerative quality that the soil would have, and thus inspiring agriculture, supposedly. So inhaling the arms up and swan diving, folding forward, and then inhaling the arms in front and exhaling the hands behind the head, squeezing the hands together as you balance here on the balls of your feet, boar pose. And then exhaling the hands in front, arms in front, before inhaling back to standing, and again exhaling, swan diving with the purity and grace of a swan forward. Inhaling the arms forward and exhaling the hands behind. Exhaling arms forward, inhaling back to standing last time. Exhale, swan dive down. Inhale, arms up, exhale into boar pose. Hasana. And then on your exhale, just bring the fingertips to the floor. And perhaps come into hare pose, Shashankasana once again, to listen. Listen to the secrets of the breath as it guides you around your body. Gently rising back up. Allowing the body to adjust at different stages. I'm preparing now for bakasana, crow pose. Feet just a bit wider than the hips, hands on the floor in front, a couple of feet. Trying to place the knees as high up onto the upper arms as possible. And initially just toying with the transfer of weight, and perhaps that's where you stay at the moment for this posture, that's fine. If you can come into the full expression physically, please do so, but do not feel obliged, don't feel hurried. Let go of the ego's haste to hurry. When you do come out, just counterpose with the wrists. There's a lot of fear symbolized within this posture, even though we can only fall the length of the forearms. Lots of local villages in some areas of India will lay seeds daily for crows, thought to be particularly symbolic of being our ancestors. Another bird posture now, peacock pose, mythology. Quite a challenging one. First of all, spreading the knees a little wider and bringing the hands together but facing toward our feet with the fingers. Trying to get the hands, the wrists and the forearms and the elbows touching. Perhaps you stay here, perhaps that's enough for you, perfectly fine. We're then trying to create a bend in the arms so that we can rest the elbows onto the abdomen. As this posture is symbolic of a healthy digestive system, peacocks are able to eat poisonous creatures, scorpions, snakes, with no negative effect to them. And head resting on the floor, then stretching the feet out behind you. The full version of this posture is bringing the head off the floor, welcoming the chest forward, and even extending the feet off the floor, but perhaps that is for another lifetime. Really strong core, this posture, and perhaps where you're at with this posture is simply resting back and giving that stretch to the forearms. Wherever you're at is fine. There's plenty to keep you going for a lifetime in this practice, or several lifetimes. Good, coming up. And you don't have to change round, I'm just changing round so you can see here. We're coming into lovely seated positions now. Feel that support of the floor, and first of all into baby dragonfly. So you're going to raise the right leg into a bent position and place the foot over the other side of the left leg. I'm not mirroring you here. And you're going to take hold of the toe with the right hand and bring the left arm kind of into a chaturanga position, if you're familiar with that, elbow in close to the body, and we're going to bend that arm and then try and raise up off the floor with the buttocks and the leg. That's a more accessible version of dragonfly pose, which we'll introduce another time. And when you exhale out of that, we'll come into elephant trunk pose on that same side. So placing the arm under the right leg as much as possible, trying to get the elbow to poke through, and then planting that right hand and interlocking the arm with that right leg, squeezing it, flexing the foot. Left hand down on the other side, pushing. And if you're pushing, you're gaining the benefit of the pose. Whatever happens externally, you may rise up, you may not, doesn't matter. Bring your weight forward, that will help with the ultimate eventuality, if you work at it enough, to rise up, and your foot may rise up as well. Changing sides as you exhale out of that posture. Beginning with baby dragonfly on the other side. Not forgetting to breathe in these balancing, demanding postures. Good. Elephant trunk pose on the other side as well. Needless to say, which limb is representing the trunk of the elephant here? Elephants representing lots of things within yoga. They are seen as a royal animal, although all animals are royal in my eyes if we're going with that concept. And one thing that really resonates with me is that they represent a clearing of obstacles, removing obstacles. So just imagine an elephant ahead of you and just clearing the path ahead of you. Okay, now we're really coming down in contact with the floor now. Coming into a side lying position, first of all, on the left hand side, resting the hand on the head. And just aligning yourself here. So no sticky outy bums once again. You'll probably want to do that. So we're already working quite a lot here, pushing the hips forward, strong core. And then bending the top leg, taking hold of the foot. Maybe you stay here, pushing the hips forward once again. Maybe you will stretch the leg higher. Bent leg is fine here. Continuing to push the hips forward, the bottom will want to stick out more and more here. It's an easier version of the posture. Vishnu couch pose, and the animal element here comes from imagining that actually we're reclining onto a coiled snake. Here comes reference to a snake once again. So imagine that as you switch sides. As snakes are quite fearsome creatures, they're thought to symbolize also protection and mastery over fear. A very imaginative practice is animal yoga. Good. And if you have differences on different sides of the body, when you practice longer, linger longer, as I like to say, on the one side that is less strong, less flexible, whatever it may be. Gently making your way up, back to all fours. We're preparing for pigeon pose, kapotasana. You can enter this from downward facing dog if you prefer. Otherwise, just inviting the right leg forward and turning the lower part of the leg out to the left hand side. The extent of the angle of this turn will depend on how flexible we are, so not forcing anything. Some people might even need to have that lower part of the leg just directly under the upper part of the leg. So do what you need to do, be kind to yourself. Practicing ahimsa, the ground foundation of animal yoga, non-harming to ourselves and all other beings. So stretching the back leg back once you've got that sorted, and the knee and the top of the foot is resting on the floor. And we're going to gain a bit of height in this position first. Coming onto the tips of the fingers perhaps, if you feel able to do so, maybe even moving the hands up to the leg and the foot. Breathing, imagine you're breathing space into the vertebra of the spine. Getting height in the upper part of the body. And maybe you wish to do another variation here. There's lots of different variations. You can bring the foot, the back foot in toward the body as you plant the right hand centrally in front of the torso. You can then bring the foot into the elbow crease if that's available to you, and even take swan face mudra with the left hand, which you can't see it very well, but just the forefinger and the thumb touching as much as possible out straight, and the other hand's stretching out wide. You can even extend the right arm if you wish, and any other variations that you know of that you wish to take, feel free. Best to just commit to one of these variations rather than trying to do them all, and you can explore different ones perhaps in your different practices. And on an exhale, coming out of your chosen variation, take a final inhale to lengthen the spine before resting forward. Imagine you're nestling down into your feathers. Breathing here, and we won't stay here too long because we're not quite getting that still and calm yet. So peeling yourself up on the next inhale and transitioning to the other side, being mindful as you move. And as you move to the other side, being aware of the hips now, welcoming that right hip ever more forward, keeping the hips as level as possible. Taking your chosen variation. The level you can sustain. Kapotasana also translates as dove pose. So it's interesting to think about the extent of the similarity between these two animals, a dove and a pigeon. They're in the same group of animals, the pigeons, and yet they bring very different things to lots of people's minds and mean different things in different cultures across the world. Pigeons seeming more like pests, vermin even, and yet doves representing peace. So let us work on actually recognizing they are both equal. Nestling into your feathers once more. Gently peeling yourself up on the next inhale. Again, if you have more time, do press pause and just linger lusciously there. So, allowing your being to adjust and adapt, not forcing yourself through endlessly. Time, there's no hurry. Time and awareness. And then preparing for camel pose, ustrasana. Knees roughly hip distance apart. And we want to gain height, first of all, in the body, right from the knees upwards. So contracting the thighs, imagine lift energy coming up from the knees. And you may just rest your hands on your lower back and just stay there. Maybe lean into your hands a little bit. Or you may like to come, or your body may like it if you come into a fuller version of the posture. Trying to keep the hips above the knees, push the hips forward. If there's no problems with the neck, you can roll it back, but it's fine to keep it aligned with the spine as well. Whenever you come out, you can Come out, supporting your spine with your hands. We're going to come into a lovely, luscious counter pose now. If you've got your hair up, if you have long hair, then you might need to take that out. Coming into rabbit pose. And it's grabbing hold of the heels with the fingertips facing inwards. And it's helpful just to have that lift first of all, to gain space and allow the arms to move further behind. Inhaling, then exhaling, fold, tummy in toward the spine, and you can really fold your back, bringing your head as close to your knees as possible. First of all, resting it on the knees even, and then letting it tip down. Rabbits seeming similar to hares. Sasangasana. And then moving into hare pose. Just enjoy that release of the back after the back bending that we've done in this practice, that we've nourished ourselves with in this practice. Staying there, or refixing your hair if you need to, if it bothers you. Down. Slowly coming up and coming into the second frog pose, mandukasana. Knees as wide as possible and seating the hips down towards the heels of the feet. The heels and the toes are together at the back. And you can rest onto your elbows or stay on your hands if that's as far as you wish to go, or come all the way down. Bring your hands perhaps into pranayama above your head if you are all the way down. Lovely stretch for the groin here. Just drawing inspiration from the sheer diversity of the animal kingdom. Even within one species there's great diversity. So there's one frog that has evolved webbed feet, and it's like they're flying from tree to tree as they jump. Inspiring us with what we can manifest, create. Slowly inhaling yourself up, drawing the knees together and pausing. Making our way into half monkey pose. Hanumanasana. Left leg in front on the heel. Hips over that right knee. Trying to keep the hips level. Lengthen the spine on an inhale first of all before you fold. Either a millimeter fold or further. Whatever your body is asking for, capable of. And the knee may be bent a little bit here, that's fine. We're just after that hamstring stretch in the front leg, and you can even go for a balance here. It's fine if you wobble as you try to bring both hands onto the front foot. Really strong core. Or you just may wish to stay in that half monkey with no balance, that's fine. You can also extend further into full monkey pose, keeping both hips as level as possible, though they'll never be completely level here. Again, space in the torso. And there's various arm positions here again, or just supporting yourself with your hands on the floor or on blocks here if you're somewhere in the middle on the long spectrum. So once again, I'd recommend just choosing a variation rather than trying to do all of them in the time that we have in this session today. But a few different ones are demonstrated so that you know. And when you're ready to come out, just gently welcome both legs together if you went for the full version, or just draw that front leg back in to all fours if you stayed in the half monkey, and switch sides. So this is a posture that's named after a revered mythical being within yogic philosophy, and this being is thought to have taken a giant leap from India over to Sri Lanka in an effort to find a missing person. So it was a selfless service, and this reminds us of one of Gandhi's quotes: find yourself by losing yourself in the service of others. And by really fostering this feeling of greater connection with all beings on earth through our yoga practice, this helps us to naturally move in the direction of wanting to do that. This posture calls on the qualities of trust, faith, and commitment to achieve such things. Try to practice on this side the same as what you practiced on the other side. Again, maintaining that balance. And once again, just choosing one variation. Monkeys also having this playful, cheeky nature in the animal kingdom. So drawing on those qualities as well, not being so serious within life, within our practice, keeping things light. And when you've come out of the posture and rested in hare pose, once again, if you wish, just making your way onto your bottom for tortoise or turtle pose, Simhasana. And you may just be working here, holding onto your feet and staying with those sensations there, if that's enough for you, or trying to place your arms as far under the legs as possible as you straighten your legs and lower them to the floor. And you can begin to rest your head, or you may find it more comfortable to move your hands further around towards your bottom. They may interlink, they may not. And that just may be more comfortable on the elbows. So let's really be inspired by the turtle and tortoise now. They draw their limbs into their shell. Let's do that with our attention. And when they're in their shells, they have to hold their breath. I'm not asking you to do that. But we did that in the pranayama at the beginning of the practice, the Bhramari pranayama, just for a count. It's called a kumbhaka and it is used a lot in yoga, so it's just great to see these parallels within nature. Symbolisms. And thinking about what that stillness moment of nothingness can represent. Slowly drawing yourself up now from wherever you've been in tortoise pose, and preparing for Lord of the Fishes, half Lord of the Fishes, the spinal twist. On the right side, first of all, the right foot over the left bent leg, left foot towards the right buttock. And again, there's different variations here. First of all, sit tall before turning at all, then just hug the knee. Take that right arm behind you and plant it. You may like to take the elbow to, or the upper arm to that right leg, and push with the humerus bone into the femur bone. You may like to bind, and you can even take that swan face mudra once again if you have got the elbow. Stick with one variation. Commit to one variation. We gain benefit from lingering in a posture. Switching sides after you've gently come out of that posture on that side. Ardha Matsyendrasana. Again, symbolic of how life began in the waters, primordial life. Our brains evolved from a jellyfish. We are all connected, and all here for some reason or another, all in the same boat of existence. Exhaling out of that side. Great, so coming into butterfly pose, that's one name for this posture. Soles of the feet together. And you can support yourself into the posture using your hands behind you. Try to let gravity just aid in the knees coming out to the side, but it's really coming from the hips. So do be gentle to your knees. Protect your knees. Straight, long spine. Breathe spaciousness into the spine, and then exhale forward. Imagine butterfly coming to take the pollen from the flowers. Butterflies too, pollinators as well as bees, paying homage to their role and connecting it with our life, benefiting us with enabling plants and food to grow. If you like, you might be able to bring the soles of the feet apart a little bit, like you're opening a book, as you rest deeper into the posture. Before you gently draw the knees together after you've come up slowly, and then you might just want to rest with your knees together, arms under the knees, head resting onto the knees. And we'll make our way onto our backs. One more posture, or a couple more postures to finish with on our backs before golden shavasana. Starting with another fish pose, Matsyasana. And the full version of this posture, physically speaking, is pushing into our forearms, rolling onto the head, and stretching the legs out higher off the ground, and the arms coming together in front of the chest as well, pushing in with the hands. Contracted, active legs. Imagine the thighs rolling inward, so activating all those muscles on the inner leg. Breathing here, of course. And there's a beautiful mythology with fishes within yogic philosophy as well. One that's very similar to the Noah's Ark story that many may be familiar with. And this really highlights to me the connection between cultures across the world, between faiths across the world. Coming into happy baby. Ananda Balasana, happy baby pose, is also called dead bug pose, which is rather apt for moving into corpse pose next. And when you're in this posture, just try to keep the feet in alignment with the knees, directly above the knees. Direct the tailbone towards your imaginary feet if they were in front of you on the floor. And just keep the neck rolled in a little bit, back of the neck long. Happy babies across the animal kingdom. And then just release, let your legs float down into golden shavasana, corpse pose, final relaxation. And completely remove, release any tension from the body. Surrender into the support of the floor. It is supporting you. No tension in the body, just like a corpse. And you can, perhaps if it feels comfortable for you, take elephant apple mudra, kapita mudra, because here the fingers will naturally roll in. And if you just tuck the thumbs in between the forefinger and the middle finger, that mudra should happily just sit and rest as such, without any effort. And it's just a lovely, wholesome mudra to have in shavasana if it feels good for you. And very apt as it is representing the unity between the animal parts of ourselves and of life, union of that with the spiritual aspects. Balance once again. Corpse pose, the state that will ultimately connect us all. Let us be united in that shared vulnerability. As you lay here now, see wondrous animals welcoming you into this ultimate, deepest place of all your practice. You're venturing deep into your inner temple. Just like in India, on their many temples, they have sculptures and carvings of animals marking the transition between the different realms or realities, if you like. And you're venturing into your own inner temple. And I'll leave you with the final passage before leaving you in the silence and bliss of this space. Just keep in touch with your breath and return to it if you're ever distracted. The animal shall not be measured by man. In a world older and more complete than ours, they move finished and complete, gifted with an extension of the senses we have lost or never attained, living by voices we shall never hear. They are not brethren, not underlings, but other nations caught with ourselves in the net of life and time, fellow prisoners of the splendour and the travail of the earth. Feel free to stay here longer if you can and if you wish. Otherwise, just imagining those animals once again, welcoming you back into the day, into everyday reality, but maintaining that connection with your inner self and with that shared part within all beings on earth that we've worked to foster in this practice, and carry that with you in your life. So begin to wiggle the fingers, the toes. Have a stretch if that feels good. Whatever feels good at this moment, just taking your time. Some big breaths, some sighs. Sometimes we don't know how good it feels to sigh until we actually sigh, and just resting over onto one side now. And when you're here, just allow yourself to adjust. Maybe open the eyes slightly here so there's no shock when you do open them. And you'll know if you're relaxed here because your animal belly will be flopping over to one side. And then you can push up with the hands back into lion pose, Simhasana, finishing as we began. This time taking Garuda mudra, eagle mudra, interlacing the thumbs in front of our chest, shielding ourselves. It does represent protection, this mudra, and you can feel the energy of that within the mudra. You can have the fingers together or spread wide. Breathe into the spirit of the mudra here, and we'll seal the practice with the same words as we opened with. Shri Pashupatinath Prarana Sambhada Karuna Shri Pashupatinath. Raising the mudra to the third eye, the space between the eyebrows, to say Namaste.